The sterile gleam of the office at Sterling Wren Associates had always seemed to Nora Bennett like a beacon of professional integrity, a place where meticulous legal work paved the way for justice. She'd joined the firm fresh out of law school, brimming with an idealism that had, until recently, remained untouched by the cynicism that often permeated the legal world. Her mentor, a senior partner named Liam Thatcher, had initially fostered this belief, his gruff exterior masking what she perceived as a deep-seated commitment to ethical practice. Nora, with her sharp mind and unwavering dedication, quickly became an indispensable part of his team, working long hours, poring over intricate details of corporate law cases, and often feeling a thrill as each successful outcome reinforced her conviction that she was truly making a difference. She believed in the system, in the meticulous application of the law, and in the idea that hard work and integrity would always triumph. This belief was the bedrock of her professional life, the silent promise whispered to her during late-night study sessions, and the driving force behind her relentless pursuit of perfection in every brief, every deposition, every legal argument. She saw the law not as a cold, impersonal set of rules, but as a living, breathing entity designed to protect the vulnerable and ensure fairness. Her early cases, under Liam's seemingly benevolent guidance, had been challenging but ultimately rewarding, each victory a small affirmation of her chosen path. She thrived on the intellectual rigor, the strategic thinking required to navigate complex legal landscapes, and the satisfaction of seeing justice served, even in the often murky waters of corporate litigation. The firm, with its polished wood and hushed corridors, felt like a second home, a place where her ambitions were nurtured and her contributions valued. She admired Liam, his formidable reputation preceding him, and she eagerly absorbed every lesson, every piece of advice he offered, convinced that she was on a path to a truly impactful career. His occasional brusqueness, she rationalized, was merely the eccentricity of a brilliant legal mind, a harmless quirk in an otherwise admirable individual. The long hours didn't deter her, in fact, they fueled her, a testament to her commitment and a silent promise to herself that she would always strive for excellence. She saw herself as a future leader in the firm, a voice for those who needed legal representation, a defender of what was right. This unwavering faith in her profession and her mentor formed the unassuming beginning of a journey that would test the very foundations of her convictions. The subtle shifts began almost imperceptibly, like a change in atmospheric pressure that one feels but cannot immediately identify. It started with Liam's increasingly frequent, dismissive comments about her thoroughness, veiled critiques disguised as casual remarks in team meetings. "Nora, you tend to overanalyze, my dear," he'd say with a patronizing smile, waving a hand dismissively at her detailed reports. "Sometimes, intuition is more valuable than endless data points." At first, she dismissed it as a difference in working styles, a generational gap perhaps. But then came the instances where her carefully researched arguments were subtly undermined during client presentations, with Liam taking credit for solutions she had painstakingly developed. She'd spend weeks poring over financial documents, uncovering discrepancies, only for him to present the findings as his own intuitive breakthrough. The microaggressions escalated. Deadlines, once collaborative and clear, became arbitrary and demanding, often sprung on her with little notice, forcing her into late nights and frantic weekends. He'd forget to include her in crucial emails, only to then express feigned surprise at her lack of awareness during subsequent discussions. "Didn't you get the memo, Nora? My apologies, the IT department must be acting up again." The excuses were always plausible, always just enough to cast a shadow of doubt without outright accusing him. Her once robust self-confidence began to fray at the edges, replaced by a creeping self-doubt. Was she truly overanalyzing? Was her intuition lacking? She started double-checking everything, spending even more hours meticulously verifying her work, a futile attempt to regain the equilibrium that was slowly slipping away. The initial thrill of her work began to be overshadowed by a persistent, low-grade anxiety that hummed beneath the surface of her daily life. Sleep became elusive, her mind replaying conversations, searching for hidden meanings, for the moment she might have inadvertently given him an opening. The sterile gleam of the office, once a beacon, now seemed to reflect a chilling, impersonal coldness. She found herself scrutinizing Liam's every word, every gesture, searching for the telltale signs of something more sinister, something beyond mere professional quirks. The weight of the unspoken began to press down on her, a suffocating blanket of uncertainty. She started to observe how he interacted with other junior associates, noticing a similar pattern of subtle control, albeit less pronounced than with her. It was as if he was carefully orchestrating a gradual erosion of trust, a slow draining of confidence. This insidious undermining, she realized, was far more effective than overt aggression, leaving its victim disoriented and questioning their own reality. She felt increasingly isolated, hesitant to confide in anyone lest her observations be dismissed as paranoia. The very foundation of her belief in the firm, in Liam, began to crack, small fissures appearing in what she had once considered an unshakable edifice. The vibrant energy she once brought to her work started to dim, replaced by a quiet, gnawing dread. The dreams of leadership, of making a real impact, began to recede, replaced by a growing need for self-preservation. She found herself physically tensing whenever Liam approached her desk, a subconscious protective measure against the invisible darts he seemed to constantly throw. The air in the office, once crisp and invigorating, now felt thick with an unnameable tension. The anxiety escalated, morphing from a low hum into a relentless, high-pitched whine in the back of Nora's mind. She found herself waking in the dead of night, her heart pounding, the insidious doubts swirling like a toxic fog. Her meticulous notes, once a source of comfort and certainty, now seemed to mock her, filled with countless instances where Liam had subtly twisted her words, misrepresented her findings, or outright appropriated her work. She began to notice a pattern, a recurring theme in several of the firm's recent high-profile cases where Liam had been the lead partner. In each instance, a crucial piece of evidence or a key strategic maneuver, initially developed by Nora, would inexplicably appear attributed solely to him in official documents or public statements. It was a subtle erasure, a quiet appropriation that left no tangible trace for a casual observer but was glaringly obvious to her. Her meticulously crafted legal arguments, designed to expose specific corporate malfeasance, were often toned down or reframed by Liam, shifting the focus away from the more damning details and towards a narrative that, while still legally sound, seemed to serve an unstated, ulterior motive. The feeling of being systematically undermined was no longer a vague apprehension, it solidified into a chilling certainty. She started experiencing frequent headaches, a tight band of pain around her temples, and a persistent knot in her stomach that no amount of herbal tea or meditation could alleviate. Her appetite dwindled, and she found herself picking at her food, the joy of a good meal replaced by a pervasive sense of unease. The psychological pressure was immense, a silent weight pressing down on her, stealing her sleep and her peace of mind. She began to isolate herself, declining social invitations, finding solace only in the quiet solitude of her apartment, where she could meticulously review her files, searching for answers, for proof. The vibrant, outgoing woman she once was began to recede, replaced by a guarded, introspective individual, constantly on alert. She analyzed every interaction with Liam, dissecting his words, his tone, his body language, trying to decipher the true intent behind his actions. Her professional life, once a source of immense satisfaction, had become a minefield, each day a precarious navigation of unspoken threats. She felt trapped, caught between her unwavering belief in justice and the horrifying reality of a system that seemed to be actively working against her, orchestrated by the very person she had once admired. The idealism she once held so dear felt like a distant memory, replaced by a bitter cynicism that threatened to consume her. The weight of the deception, the constant fear of exposure, the knowledge that her contributions were being stolen, all combined to create an unbearable burden. She started jotting down observations in a private journal, not just the incidents, but her feelings, her growing despair, the chilling realization that she was being systematically silenced. This journal became her only confidant, a tangible record of her eroding reality. The lines between professional disagreement and outright betrayal blurred, leaving her in a constant state of emotional turbulence. The insidious pressure eventually propelled Nora towards a critical turning point. She needed irrefutable evidence. The fragmented memories of stolen ideas and undermined efforts weren't enough, she needed something concrete, something undeniable. The sheer audacity of Liam's actions, the quiet confidence with which he appropriated her work, fueled a simmering anger that began to eclipse her fear. She realized that continuing to endure in silence would only lead to her own professional demise and, perhaps more importantly, a betrayal of her own values. The initial emotional turmoil began to coalesce into a steely resolve. Nora started a meticulous, covert operation. She began documenting everything: the exact time and date of her initial submissions, the subtle alterations Liam made, the subsequent public-facing documents where her work appeared under his name. She developed a system, cross-referencing file versions, email timestamps, and even recorded key conversations where Liam made vague, incriminating statements. It was a painstaking process, conducted in the dead of night, long after everyone else had left the office, or during her lunch breaks in a nearby coffee shop, hunched over her laptop, the screen dimmed to avoid detection. She became a phantom in the office, a quiet observer, her once eager participation replaced by a watchful stillness. She installed discrete screen recording software on her personal laptop, capturing instances of her files being opened and modified by Liam's access credentials, a digital breadcrumb trail that would, she hoped, lead directly to his culpability. The ethical implications of her actions weighed on her, but the overriding conviction that she was fighting for her professional life, for justice, ultimately justified her methods. She considered consulting an external ethics committee or even a lawyer, but the fear of premature exposure and the potential for Liam to retaliate and destroy her career before she had substantial proof kept her silent. She knew she had to build an unassailable case. This clandestine effort consumed her waking hours, turning her into a nocturnal detective, driven by a desperate need for vindication. The exhaustion was profound, but the adrenaline of the chase kept her going. She felt like a character in a suspense novel, each click of the mouse, each discovery, a small victory in a high-stakes game. The quiet hum of her laptop in the stillness of the night became the soundtrack to her clandestine quest for justice. Her introspection deepened, forcing her to confront the difficult truth about the pervasive nature of power and corruption, even in institutions she had once revered. This wasn't just about Liam, it was about a system that allowed such abuses to flourish. Her naive belief in an inherently just system crumbled, replaced by a hardened understanding of its vulnerabilities and the necessity of fighting for what was right, even when it felt like an uphill battle. The solitude of her mission, while isolating, also sharpened her focus, allowing her to think clearly and strategically. Nora realized she couldn't fight this battle alone, no matter how meticulously she documented Liam's transgressions. She needed allies, people who could provide insights, corroboration, or simply a safe space to vent her mounting frustrations. Her first thought turned to Owen Calloway, a junior associate who had joined the firm a few months after her. Owen was quiet, observant, and possessed a keen sense of integrity, often expressing subtle discomfort with Liam's more aggressive tactics. Nora had noticed his thoughtful pauses, the slight frown that creased his brow during Liam's more questionable pronouncements. She started by subtly testing the waters, casually mentioning a project Liam had taken over, gauging Owen's reaction. He responded with a vague, but telling, "He does like to put his stamp on things, doesn't he?" It wasn't an accusation, but it was enough for Nora to realize he saw it too. Over hushed coffee breaks and seemingly innocent hallway conversations, Nora began to share carefully curated fragments of her concerns, never directly accusing Liam, but painting a picture of a work environment where credit was unfairly distributed. She observed Owen's reactions, the gradual widening of his eyes, the almost imperceptible nods of understanding. He started offering small pieces of information, observations he had made independently, details that further cemented Nora's suspicions. "Remember that proposal for the Caldwell case?" Owen murmured one afternoon, his voice low. "I swear I saw your initial draft had that innovative clause about intellectual property rights. It just disappeared from the final version under Liam's name." Each small revelation from Owen felt like a lifeline, a confirmation that she wasn't losing her mind. Owen, in turn, began to observe Liam more closely, his own observations confirming Nora's narrative. He was a quiet, steadfast ally, his support unspoken but deeply felt. However, not everyone proved to be trustworthy. Carter Pierce, another associate whom Nora had initially considered a friend, turned out to be a cautionary tale. Carter was ambitious, perhaps too much so, and his loyalty, Nora soon discovered, was easily swayed by the promise of advancement. When Nora, in a moment of desperation, hinted at her concerns about Liam's methods to Carter, he became visibly uncomfortable, quickly changing the subject and then, to Nora's dismay, subtly increasing his fawning over Liam in the following weeks. It was a cold, hard lesson in who to trust. Carter's betrayal, while painful, served as a stark reminder of the high stakes involved and the need for extreme caution. The disappointment stung, but it also hardened her resolve, making her even more meticulous in her selection of confidants. She learned that genuine allies were rare, and that the path to justice was often a lonely one, paved with carefully measured trust and the bitter taste of disloyalty. She realized that navigating this treacherous landscape required not just intellect, but a deep understanding of human nature, a skill she was rapidly acquiring out of necessity. The psychological toll of living a double life, of constantly feigning ignorance while meticulously gathering evidence, began to weigh heavily on Nora. The persistent anxiety that had once been a low hum now throbbed relentlessly, punctuated by sharp spikes of panic. She found herself experiencing sudden, irrational waves of dizziness, her vision blurring at times, a physical manifestation of the immense stress she was under. Sleep became a battle, a nightly struggle against a mind that refused to quiet down. She'd drift off only to be jolted awake by vivid nightmares, replays of Liam's condescending smiles or her own frustrated attempts to articulate her stolen ideas. Insomnia became her unwelcome companion, the dark hours of the night spent staring at the ceiling, her thoughts racing, consumed by the intricacies of her plan and the fear of exposure. The exhaustion permeated every aspect of her life, making it difficult to focus during the day, dulling her once sharp analytical skills. She found herself making small, uncharacteristic errors in her work, forcing her to dedicate even more time to triple-checking everything, a vicious cycle that further exacerbated her fatigue. Her physical health began to deteriorate. She lost weight, her cheeks becoming hollow, and dark circles perpetually shadowed her eyes. Her skin grew pale, and her hair, once lustrous, seemed to lose its vibrancy. The once enjoyed rituals of self-care, a long bath or a quiet evening with a book, became impossible luxuries, replaced by the relentless demands of her secret mission. Her social life dwindled to almost nothing, her excuses for declining invitations growing increasingly threadbare. She feared that her strained appearance and distracted demeanor would raise suspicion, forcing her to adopt a veneer of normalcy that was becoming increasingly difficult to maintain. The isolation amplified her feelings of vulnerability, but also fueled her resolve. She knew she couldn't give up, not when she was so close to uncovering the truth. The fear of failure, of being dismissed as paranoid or, worse, incompetent, was a potent motivator. She imagined Liam's smug satisfaction if she were to crumble, and that image ignited a fierce defiance within her. Her meticulous documentation became not just a means to an end, but a coping mechanism, a way to channel her overwhelming anxiety into something productive, something tangible. Each piece of evidence gathered was a small victory, a tiny chip in the seemingly impenetrable wall of Liam's deception, offering a fleeting moment of relief before the anxiety returned, renewed and intensified. The strain of constant vigilance, of carefully chosen words and masked emotions, was immense, but Nora knew that this period of profound discomfort was a necessary precursor to the justice she so desperately sought. Nora's transformation from a naive idealist to a calculating strategist was gradual but profound. She meticulously analyzed every aspect of Liam's modus operandi, dissecting his patterns of behavior, his vulnerabilities, and his likely reactions. She noticed his reliance on verbal agreements over written communication when dealing with sensitive information, a subtle tactic designed to minimize a paper trail. She also identified his penchant for delegating tasks at the last minute, a habit she now realized was a way to maintain control and to shift blame if things went awry. Her approach shifted from reactive defense to proactive offense. She began to anticipate Liam's moves, to prepare for his attempts to undermine her, and to strategically position herself to gather more evidence. She started subtly guiding conversations in team meetings, nudging them towards areas where she knew Liam had previously taken credit for her work, then carefully observing his reactions and noting any inconsistencies. She developed a series of traps, small, innocuous-looking tasks or requests she would make, knowing they would expose Liam's deceptive practices if he attempted to manipulate them. For instance, she'd send him a detailed draft of a report with a deliberate, minor factual error, then meticulously track how he incorporated it, or failed to, into his final version, creating a clear line of attribution. She became a master of digital forensics, even without formal training, using her keen analytical mind to trace file origins, metadata, and version histories. She learned to cross-reference seemingly disparate pieces of information, connecting the dots between an offhand comment in a meeting and a specific revision in a legal brief. Her understanding of the firm's internal systems, once a mere administrative necessity, now became a weapon in her arsenal. She understood the intricacies of their document management system, the pathways of their internal communication networks, and the vulnerabilities in their data storage. She documented not only Liam's appropriation of her work but also the financial implications of his actions, compiling a detailed record of potential losses to the firm or benefits gained by Liam due to his fraudulent claims. This meticulous financial analysis added another layer of gravity to her case, transforming it from a personal grievance into a serious professional and potentially legal matter. Her emotional detachment grew, not out of indifference, but out of necessity. She compartmentalized her feelings, channeling her anger and frustration into focused, strategic action. This period of intense, solitary work, while draining, also forged a new sense of resilience within her. She was no longer just a lawyer, she was an investigator, a strategist, and a fighter. The quiet library of her mind, once filled with legal precedents, was now a war room, meticulously planning the next move in her silent campaign for justice. Every step was deliberate, every decision weighed against the potential for exposure and the need for irrefutable proof. She was no longer just reacting to the injustice, she was orchestrating its unraveling. The sheer volume of evidence Nora had amassed was staggering. Her meticulously organized files, both digital and physical, formed an irrefutable chronicle of Liam Thatcher's systematic deception. There were email chains, time-stamped and cross-referenced, showing her initial drafts and Liam's subsequent edits, often stripping her name from the authorship. There were comparative documents, side-by-side analyses highlighting the uncanny similarities between her original legal strategies and Liam's innovative approaches. Financial reports, painstakingly dissected, clearly demonstrated the discrepancies in billing and the misattribution of credit for securing lucrative contracts. She had even managed to record a few key conversations, carefully edited to capture Liam's indirect admissions and dismissive remarks, their casual tone belying the serious implications. The weight of this evidence was palpable, a physical manifestation of the truth she had so diligently pursued. The day she decided to act was marked by a quiet, determined clarity, a sense of grim satisfaction. The knots in her stomach had untangled, replaced by a cold resolve. She scheduled a meeting with Bennett Vaughan, the firm's managing partner, a stoic and highly respected figure known for his unwavering commitment to integrity. She chose her timing carefully, selecting a day when Liam was out of the office on a client visit, minimizing the risk of a premature confrontation. She dressed meticulously, her usual understated professional attire replaced by a sharp, tailored suit, a silent armor for the battle she was about to wage. As she walked into Bennett's expansive office, the plush carpet muffling her footsteps, she carried a heavy briefcase, a Pandora's box filled with the secrets of Liam's professional misconduct. The conversation began formally, a polite exchange of pleasantries, before Nora cut straight to the chase, her voice steady despite the tremor in her hands hidden beneath the table. "Mr. Vaughan," she began, her gaze unwavering, "I need to discuss some deeply concerning matters regarding Liam Thatcher's professional conduct within the firm." She presented her evidence methodically, calmly, allowing the weight of each document, each audio clip, to speak for itself. She explained her methodology, the careful steps she had taken to ensure the authenticity and integrity of her findings. She watched Bennett's expression shift from polite attention to professional concern, then to a growing realization and, finally, to a grim understanding. He listened without interruption, his gaze fixed on her, occasionally nodding slowly. The turning point arrived when she played a short audio clip, a snippet of a casual conversation where Liam, unaware he was being recorded, implicitly acknowledged using Nora's framework for a major client presentation without giving her credit. The confession, though subtle, was unmistakable. The silence that followed was deafening, broken only by the hum of the air conditioning. Bennett finally leaned back in his chair, his expression unreadable, then slowly exhaled. "Nora," he said, his voice quiet, "I assure you, we will investigate this thoroughly and take appropriate action. This is a serious accusation, but the evidence you've presented is compelling." The sense of relief that washed over Nora was immense, a tidal wave that threatened to buckle her knees. She had done it. She had finally exposed the truth. The aftermath of Nora's meeting with Bennett Vaughn was swift and decisive. A whirlwind of internal investigations and hushed conversations that rippled through the firm like a shockwave. Bennett, true to his word, initiated an immediate, high-level inquiry, bringing in an external forensic auditor and a specialist in professional ethics. Nora was asked to provide her comprehensive documentation, which she did, handing over hard drives filled with meticulously organized files, and binders overflowing with printed evidence. The initial phase was tense, a period of anxious waiting where Nora felt like she was perpetually holding her breath. Whispers circulated through the office, hushed tones, and furtive glances following her whenever she walked past. Some associates, including Owen Calloway, offered quiet words of encouragement and solidarity, their knowing glances a testament to their own unspoken observations of Liam's behavior. Others, like Carter Pierce, who had betrayed her earlier, now avoided her gaze, their discomfort palpable. The atmosphere was charged with uncertainty, a palpable tension as the firm grappled with the implications of Nora's revelations. Liam Thatcher, initially oblivious, continued his work with his usual swagger, but Nora noticed a subtle shift in his demeanor after a terse, closed-door meeting with Bennett Vaughn and the firm's senior partners. His usual boisterous confidence seemed to deflate slightly, replaced by a nervous irritability. He began making more frequent, abrupt phone calls, his voice often raised in agitation. The investigation, though discreet, was relentless. Nora was interviewed multiple times by the external team, each session a detailed recounting of the microaggressions, the appropriation of her work, and the psychological toll it had taken. She answered every question with calm precision, her carefully prepared notes providing irrefutable support for her claims. The evidence she had compiled was so thorough, so meticulously documented, that it left little room for doubt or denial. The turning point came a few weeks later. A firm-wide email, terse and formal, announced Liam Thatcher's immediate and indefinite leave of absence, citing personal reasons and emphasizing the firm's unwavering commitment to ethical conduct and transparency. Though the language was deliberately vague, the message was clear to everyone in the firm, especially those who had observed Liam's questionable practices. Soon after, another email followed, stating that Liam Thatcher had mutually agreed to part ways with Sterling Wren Associates. The news spread like wildfire, a mixture of shock and quiet satisfaction washing over the office. For Nora, it was a moment of profound vindication, a quiet triumph that resonated deep within her. Justice, slow and arduous, had finally been served. The toxic presence that had suffocated her professional life was gone, and the sterile gleam of the office finally felt clean again, purged of the deception that had stained it. With Liam Thatcher's departure, a palpable sense of relief permeated Sterling Wren Associates. The hushed whispers slowly subsided, replaced by a renewed hum of professional activity. For Nora, the immediate aftermath was a period of intense, almost dizzying emotional release. The constant vigilance, the gnawing anxiety, the persistent dread that had been her companions for months, all began to dissipate. She found herself sleeping soundly through the night for the first time in what felt like an eternity, waking refreshed, her mind clear and unburdened. The headaches receded, her appetite returned, and the color slowly came back to her face. She felt lighter, as if a great weight had been lifted from her shoulders. The firm, under Bennett Vaughn's steady leadership, moved quickly to address the fallout. A new internal policy was immediately implemented, emphasizing stricter protocols for project attribution, transparent performance reviews, and clear channels for reporting ethical concerns without fear of retaliation. Bennett himself held a series of town hall meetings, acknowledging the recent unfortunate events and reiterating the firm's commitment to fostering a supportive and equitable work environment. He subtly praised Nora's courage and integrity in an all-staff email, though he never explicitly named Liam or detailed the specifics of the investigation. It was a clear signal of his support and a quiet acknowledgement of her role in bringing about necessary change. Nora's standing within the firm, initially precarious, now soared. She was no longer just a junior associate, she was a respected figure, a symbol of integrity and resilience. Senior partners sought her input on complex cases, valuing her meticulous approach and sharp analytical skills. Junior associates looked up to her, seeking her guidance and mentorship, drawn to her quiet strength. Owen Calloway, her steadfast ally, became an even closer confidant, and they began collaborating on several new projects, their shared experience forging a deeper bond of trust and respect. The work, once a source of dread, now felt invigorating again. She embraced new challenges with renewed enthusiasm, her passion for the law rekindled. The meticulous research, the strategic thinking, the pursuit of justice, all the elements that had drawn her to the profession in the first place, were now free from the shadow of deception. The office, once a place of quiet treachery, transformed into a space of genuine collaboration and mutual respect. Nora felt a profound sense of restoration, not just of her reputation, but of her faith in herself and in the potential for good within the legal system. She knew that injustice would always exist, but she also knew that she possessed the strength and the courage to confront it. The restoration of justice for Nora wasn't just about Liam Thatcher's removal, it was also about the recognition of her own contributions and the tangible advancement of her career. Within a few months of the dust settling, Bennett Vaughan called Nora into his office for a private meeting. He commended her not only for her exceptional legal work but for her unwavering courage and dedication to the firm's ethical standards. He acknowledged the significant personal and professional risks she had taken and expressed his deep regret for the environment she had been forced to endure. The conversation culminated in a formal offer, a promotion to senior associate, a substantial salary increase, and, most notably, the opportunity to lead her own team on a series of high-profile corporate litigation cases. It was a meteoric rise, a testament to her talent and resilience, and a clear signal that the firm was actively invested in her future. Nora accepted the offer with a quiet dignity, her inner self brimming with a mix of relief and profound satisfaction. The promotion wasn't just a title, it was an affirmation, a public acknowledgement of her worth and her capabilities. She was now in a position of authority, able to shape the direction of legal strategies and, crucially, to mentor junior associates in a way that fostered integrity and transparency, unlike her own experience with Liam. Her first major task as a senior associate was to oversee a complex merger case that had been bogged down by internal inefficiencies. Drawing on her newfound leadership skills and her meticulous attention to detail, Nora streamlined processes, empowered her team, and ultimately secured a highly favorable outcome for the client. The success of the case further solidified her reputation as a formidable legal talent and an effective leader. She began to speak more openly, though cautiously, about the importance of ethical vigilance within the legal profession, subtly influencing firm culture through her actions and her quiet advocacy. She also made it a point to actively champion junior associates, ensuring their contributions were recognized and their voices heard, directly counteracting the destructive patterns she had endured. Her professional network expanded rapidly, with senior lawyers from other firms seeking her expertise and inviting her to speak at industry conferences. Nora, once the quiet, diligent junior, was now a rising star, her experiences having forged her into a leader of remarkable strength and conviction. The journey had been arduous, marked by immense personal suffering. But the eventual triumph was all the more meaningful for the depth of the struggle she had overcome. Her career was not just restored, it was elevated to a level she had once only dreamed of, a testament to her unwavering commitment to justice. Nora's professional triumph brought with it a profound sense of personal healing. The constant tension that had resided in her shoulders and neck for so long finally began to unravel. She found herself smiling more genuinely, her laughter no longer constrained by the weight of unspoken anxieties. The dark circles under her eyes, once a permanent fixture, slowly faded, replaced by a healthy glow. She rediscovered the simple joys of life that had been eclipsed by her ordeal. Long walks in the park, enjoying the simple beauty of nature, became a treasured ritual. She reconnected with old friends, rebuilding relationships that had withered during her period of isolation, finding solace and understanding in their unwavering support. She also cultivated new connections, particularly with colleagues like Owen Calloway, whose quiet loyalty had proven invaluable. Their shared experience had forged a deep bond, and they often discussed the complexities of legal ethics, their conversations a mutual reaffirmation of their commitment to integrity. Nora began to channel her experiences into advocacy. She discreetly participated in discussions about workplace ethics within the legal community, sharing generalized insights about the importance of transparency and accountability without betraying any confidences. Her quiet strength and principled stand made her a respected voice, even among seasoned practitioners. She started mentoring younger associates within Sterling Wren Associates, ensuring they understood the importance of documenting their work, speaking up against perceived injustices, and prioritizing their well-being. She shared strategies for maintaining mental resilience in a demanding profession, imparting lessons learned from her own painful journey. This mentorship became a significant part of her professional identity, a way to give back and to prevent others from experiencing what she had endured. The trauma of the betrayal slowly receded, replaced by a deeper understanding of human nature and a fortified sense of self. She emerged from the crucible not just as a successful lawyer, but as a more compassionate, insightful, and resilient individual. The scars remained, a reminder of the battle she had fought, but they were no longer open wounds. They were badges of honor, testaments to her courage and her unwavering commitment to justice. Her life, once clouded by suspicion and fear, now unfolded with clarity and purpose, guided by a profound sense of inner peace and the quiet satisfaction of knowing she had not only survived but thrived. The restoration of justice extended beyond the professional realm, touching the very core of her being and allowing her to reclaim her sense of self, whole and unburdened. The story of Nora Bennett's quiet triumph at Sterling Wren Associates quickly became an unspoken legend within the legal community, a testament to the power of integrity in the face of insidious betrayal. Her name, once synonymous with meticulous diligence, now also carried the weight of resilience and courageous advocacy. The firm itself underwent a subtle but significant transformation. While not explicitly broadcasting the details of Liam Thatcher's downfall, Bennett Vaughan and the senior partners made it clear through their actions and renewed policies that ethical conduct was not merely a guideline but a foundational pillar. They invested more in internal training programs focused on fostering a supportive work environment and implementing clearer communication channels to prevent future abuses of power. The changes weren't just superficial, they permeated the very culture of the firm, creating a more open and transparent atmosphere. Nora, now a respected leader, continued to champion these changes from within. She became a driving force behind initiatives aimed at empowering junior attorneys, ensuring their voices were heard and their contributions acknowledged. She implemented a peer mentorship program, pairing new associates with experienced ones, creating a network of support that directly countered the isolation she had once felt. Her own team flourished under her guidance, a testament to her empathetic leadership and her commitment to fostering a collaborative environment. She encouraged critical thinking, open dialogue, and a proactive approach to problem-solving, skills she had honed during her own arduous journey. Her personal life also blossomed. She found new purpose in her passions outside of work, volunteering at a legal aid clinic in her spare time, offering pro bono services to those who couldn't afford representation. This commitment to social justice became a vital extension of her professional ethos, a way to directly impact the lives of vulnerable individuals. She embraced a healthier lifestyle, prioritizing self-care and finding balance between her demanding career and her personal well-being. The dark shadows that had once plagued her seemed to vanish completely, replaced by a vibrant energy and a quiet confidence that radiated from within. Nora Bennett was no longer just a survivor. She was a beacon, a living embodiment of the principle that justice, though often delayed and hard-won, could indeed prevail. Her story was a quiet revolution, a compelling narrative of how one individual's unwavering commitment to truth could not only restore her own justice but also inspire systemic change within an established institution. The echoes of her experience resonated far beyond the walls of Sterling Wren Associates, a powerful reminder that integrity, even in the face of profound adversity, always leaves an indelible mark. The narrative of Nora's journey didn't stop at the internal triumph within Sterling Wren Associates. Her story, though initially confined to the hushed corridors of the firm, eventually began to resonate more broadly within the legal community. Subtle shifts in her public profile were indicative of this growing recognition. She was increasingly invited to speak at legal conferences, not just on corporate law, but on topics of professional ethics and leadership. While she never publicly named Liam Thatcher or detailed the specifics of her past ordeal, her nuanced discussions on the challenges of maintaining integrity in competitive environments, and the importance of fostering supportive workplace cultures, spoke volumes. Her experiences had given her a unique depth of perspective that resonated deeply with her audiences, particularly younger lawyers grappling with similar pressures. Her articles on legal ethics, initially published in niche industry journals, began appearing in more prominent legal publications, attracting wider readership. She became a respected voice, her quiet authority derived from lived experience rather than mere academic theory. This growing public platform allowed her to subtly advocate for systemic changes within the legal profession, pushing for greater transparency, stronger whistleblower protections, and more robust ethical oversight. Nora also recognized the importance of giving back to the community that had, in its own way, ultimately supported her. She dedicated a significant portion of her pro bono work to assisting individuals facing workplace harassment and discrimination, offering her expertise and guidance to those navigating similar treacherous waters. Her empathy, honed by her own suffering, made her an incredibly effective advocate, providing not just legal counsel but also emotional support. She found immense satisfaction in empowering others to stand up for themselves, to document their experiences, and to seek justice, just as she had done. Her personal life continued to flourish. She embraced hobbies she had long abandoned, finding joy in painting and hiking, activities that offered a creative outlet and a connection to nature. She forged deeper, more meaningful relationships, her circle of trust growing to include individuals who truly understood and valued her. The scars of her past, while present, no longer dictated her future. They had transformed into a source of wisdom and strength, shaping her into a more resilient, compassionate, and impactful individual. Nora Bennett's story became a quiet testament to the enduring power of integrity, a beacon for those navigating the murky waters of professional life. Her journey was not just a personal victory but a compelling narrative of how one individual, by upholding their values, could contribute to a larger movement for justice and ethical conduct within an entire profession. She had not only restored her own sense of justice but had become a catalyst for positive change, leaving an indelible mark on the legal landscape. Nora's influence continued to expand, crossing the traditional boundaries of legal practice. Her name became synonymous with ethical leadership, leading to invitations from universities to guest lecture on corporate governance and professional responsibility. She spoke passionately about the insidious nature of subtle betrayals and the critical importance of creating environments where individuals felt safe to speak truth to power. Her lectures were captivating, not just for their intellectual rigor but for the underlying authenticity of her message, a quiet strength born from personal experience. Students were drawn to her sincerity, recognizing in her not just a brilliant legal mind, but a compassionate advocate for integrity. She emphasized the importance of self-awareness and the courage to act when faced with injustice, lessons she had learned through profound personal struggle. Beyond academia, Nora was increasingly sought after as a consultant for corporations seeking to overhaul their internal ethics programs. Her practical insights, born from having navigated a deeply flawed system, were invaluable. She advised on the implementation of robust reporting mechanisms, the fostering of a culture of accountability, and the development of leadership training that prioritized ethical decision-making. She worked tirelessly to ensure that the lessons she learned were translated into actionable strategies for other organizations, aiming to prevent similar instances of betrayal from occurring. This work gave her a broader sense of purpose, extending her impact beyond the legal courtroom to the boardrooms of major corporations. Her network of allies and collaborators grew, encompassing not just legal professionals but also business leaders, academics, and ethics advocates who shared her vision for a more just and transparent professional world. Owen Callaway, now a successful senior associate in his own right, remained a close friend and confidant, their bond strengthened by their shared history. They often discussed future initiatives, brainstorming ways to further promote ethical practices within the legal and corporate sectors. Nora also committed to writing a book, a personal reflection on her journey, delving into the psychological toll of betrayal, the meticulous process of documenting injustice, and the ultimate path to restoration and empowerment. The book was not intended as a sensational exposé, but rather as a guide for others, a roadmap for navigating difficult professional landscapes while preserving one's integrity. This project became a profound act of self-reflection and healing, allowing her to process the full spectrum of her experiences and distill them into universal lessons. Her life, once fractured by deception, had become a testament to the transformative power of resilience, a living example of how profound adversity could be transmuted into a powerful force for good. She was no longer just rebuilding, she was building something entirely new, a legacy of integrity and justice that would resonate far beyond her own career. Nora's growing public profile and the tangible changes she was spearheading in corporate ethics did not go unnoticed by her peers. Her efforts culminated in a highly prestigious recognition, the Catalyst for Change Award, presented by a national legal association known for its commitment to upholding the highest standards of the profession. The award ceremony was a grand affair, attended by luminaries from across the legal landscape. As Nora walked onto the stage to accept the ornate trophy, a hush fell over the room. She delivered a poignant and powerful acceptance speech, weaving together personal anecdotes with broader reflections on the importance of moral courage and the collective responsibility to foster ethical workplaces. She spoke without rancor or bitterness, focusing instead on the transformative power of integrity and the necessity of creating systems that protect truth-tellers. Her voice, calm and resolute, resonated with an undeniable authority born from experience. She subtly alluded to the challenges she had faced, acknowledging the psychological toll of standing against injustice, but emphasized the ultimate reward of aligning one's actions with one's deepest values. The speech was met with a standing ovation, a heartfelt acknowledgement of her quiet revolution. Following the ceremony, Nora was approached by several prominent figures, including a senior judge who expressed profound admiration for her work and a renowned academic who offered her a visiting professorship at a top-tier law school. These opportunities were not just professional advancements, they were platforms for her to amplify her message and further solidify her influence. The media, too, took notice. While she continued to guard the specific details of Liam's actions, her story became a powerful, generalized narrative of overcoming workplace adversity and advocating for ethical change. She was featured in legal magazines and interviewed on podcasts, becoming an inspiring voice for aspiring lawyers and seasoned professionals alike. The exposure brought new clients to Sterling Wren Associates, drawn to the firm's renewed commitment to ethical practices, a direct result of Nora's influence. Her success became a tangible benefit to the institution that had, in the end, supported her. The triumph was complete, not just for Nora personally, but for the principles she represented. She had not only restored her own sense of justice but had actively shaped the landscape of her profession, proving that one individual's commitment to integrity could indeed ripple outward, creating a profound and lasting impact. The path had been arduous, fraught with doubt and despair, but the eventual culmination was a testament to the enduring power of truth and resilience, a truly inspiring story of justice restored and a legacy forged. The success of Nora's book, tentatively titled The Unseen Scars, Navigating Betrayal and Reclaiming Your Professional Truth, was unexpected and profound. It wasn't a tell-all, but rather a deeply introspective and practical guide, offering a framework for recognizing and responding to workplace manipulation, gathering evidence, and prioritizing mental well-being throughout the process. Her measured tone and empathetic insights resonated with a wide audience, far beyond the legal profession. It became a bestseller, sparking conversations in boardrooms and break rooms across various industries. Readers connected with her raw honesty about the emotional toll of betrayal, but also drew strength from her methodical approach to seeking justice. The book's success further amplified her platform, leading to international speaking engagements and collaborations with global ethics organizations. She found herself traveling extensively, sharing her story and insights with diverse audiences, from aspiring professionals in bustling metropolises to seasoned executives in quiet conference rooms. Each conversation, each shared experience, further validated her journey and reinforced her commitment to her mission. Nora was no longer just a lawyer, she was a thought leader, a global advocate for ethical conduct and psychological resilience in the workplace. The financial success from the book allowed her to establish a nonprofit foundation dedicated to supporting victims of workplace abuse, providing legal aid, psychological counseling, and mentorship to those who felt silenced and alone. This foundation became a tangible manifestation of her deepest convictions, a direct way to transform her pain into purpose. It offered a lifeline to countless individuals, empowering them to find their voice and pursue justice. Her relationship with Owen Callaway deepened even further. He joined the advisory board of her foundation, lending his legal expertise and unwavering support to its mission. Their professional partnership flourished, extending beyond Sterling Wren Associates to collaborative initiatives aimed at fostering ethical leadership and promoting mental health awareness in demanding professions. The circle of influence Nora had created was vast, a testament to the ripple effect of one individual's courage. The quiet, naive lawyer who once believed unequivocally in an infallible system had transformed into a powerful force for change, her story a living testament to the fact that while darkness may linger, the pursuit of justice, combined with unwavering integrity, can ultimately lead to a profound and lasting restoration, not just for oneself, but for an entire community. Her legacy was not just in the legal victories she achieved, but in the countless lives she touched and the enduring shift in awareness she helped to create. The passage of time solidified Nora's legacy, etching her name into the annals of legal ethics and corporate governance. Her work at Sterling Wren Associates continued to flourish, the firm having fully embraced her vision for a transparent and ethical workplace. She personally mentored a new generation of lawyers, instilling in them not just legal acumen, but a profound sense of moral responsibility. Many of her mentees went on to achieve significant success, carrying forward her principles into their own careers, creating a ripple effect of positive change throughout the profession. Her foundation, the Beacon Initiative, grew exponentially, becoming a recognized leader in advocacy for workplace justice. It expanded its reach, partnering with international human rights organizations and influencing policy changes that offered greater protections for employees worldwide. The number of lives touched by its services was immeasurable, a testament to Nora's enduring commitment to transforming adversity into tangible aid. The book, The Unseen Scars, remained a staple in university curricula and professional development programs, a foundational text for understanding and combating workplace manipulation. It inspired countless individuals to confront their own experiences of injustice, providing them with the tools and courage to seek resolution. Nora herself, while still actively engaged in her professional and philanthropic work, began to embrace a quieter, more reflective pace of life. She found solace and joy in simple moments, tending to her garden, spending time with her loved ones, and indulging in long, contemplative walks by the sea. The intensity of her earlier struggle had given way to a profound inner peace, a quiet confidence that radiated from her. She often reflected on the journey, from the initial naive belief in a perfect system to the painful awareness of its flaws, the agonizing period of doubt and fear, and the strategic, painstaking path to restoration. The experience, while traumatic, had undeniably shaped her into the person she had become, resilient, compassionate, and deeply impactful. Her story served as a timeless reminder that while betrayal could wound deeply, justice, when pursued with unwavering integrity and courage, could not only heal those wounds but also forge a legacy of lasting positive change. Nora Bennett's life became a testament to the idea that even in the face of profound adversity, the human spirit, armed with truth and conviction, possesses an extraordinary capacity for transformation, leading not just to personal triumph, but to a better, more just world. Her name, once synonymous with a painful ordeal, was now inextricably linked with hope, resilience, and the enduring power of ethical leadership.